Absolutely, Brad. And even, you know, obviously sometimes the names change. Sometimes you get some really big names in, sometimes some less names. It doesn't get any easier, this, does it? It's very hard.
It is very hard. And actually, just looking down at some of the helmets in the pit lane there, we've got some glittering CVs. In fact, I've noticed my teammate Johnny's down there, so I'm going to have to leave this commentary box and go and help him out with his strategy. But good luck.
Excellent. Well, you were hearing there from Brad Philpott, the series organiser and very much BRKC's Mr. Fixer. Let's have a look in this. We've got Heat Race 3, and as Brad was saying, it's a pretty glittering lineup in this one. There's some very, very heavy hitters here. Well, let's start off running straight down the order. We've got Mike Seabourne, not a name that we sort of routinely know and associate with BRKC, but he is the 2018 Castlecombe karting champion, so that's on his CV, and that was only last year. Bradley Sheppard, we saw perform so well earlier on. He's one of the South Coast karting boys. That an excellent new kart centre, was formerly Matcham's, and they've rebranded and moved just a little bit further down the road. South Coast Karting, the Lovell boys running that one. Bradley Sheppard is their entry in this event. He was, of course, the O-Plate champion in 2018 at that same South Coast Karting venue last summer. Lewis Manley, always one of the favoured Brits and one who always stands a chance of winning races. He's completing his qualifying now. He's in the mix. Surely he's going to go top. Yes, he does. Kyle Power, who was on top till Lewis went out. Jonny Elliott, Gary Llewellyn, James Marshall. In fact, hang on a second. I think James Marshall's, yes, he's one that is in here still. And Adam Preston, Dan Chambers and Harvey Baul. So let's have a look at the times as they come in. We've got Lewis Manley on the pole. Dan Chambers is second. Jonny Elliott third. Kyle Power fourth. Mike Seabourne in fifth. James Marshall sixth. Bradley Sheppard seventh. Gary Llewellyn eighth. Adam Preston ninth. And Harvey Baul 10th. Now, Harvey Baul, he's not that experienced in terms of high-level competition, but he does know this track very well. At Formula Fast, or the venue at Formula Fast, we're on the alternate layouts. That doesn't really help him. And he has been one of the fastest people all year. But in the BRKC, he's running down in 10th. It's Lewis Manley on the pole position, though, by an incredible 0.6 of a second. I mean, that really is saying something. From Dan Chambers. And Dan Chambers wasn't someone we actually expected to see in second place there. He is, well, he actually works for the Mercedes F1 team, and he's another one entered by Scruffy Bear Racing. So that's Dan Chambers. Jonny Elliott, well, we saw him getting, he was third place, but it was probably the third closest to the winner out of all the heats in the previous races. So Jonny Elliott looking to capitalise on a final level performance last year. Kyle Power looking very good there in fourth place. Mike Seabourne, he's of course the reigning Castlecombe karting champion, and he is there in fifth place. James Marshall. Bradley Sheppard may feel a little bit disappointed with that, but we've seen people coming up through the order in the earlier heats as well, so seventh place may not be the end of the world for him. Gary Llewellyn, Preston and Harvey Baul. Right then, so leading them round, it's Lewis Manley. Now, if anyone knows how to make a start at Formula Fast here, it's Lewis Manley, and there he goes. He's timed to perfection. He's racing off into the lead to start the first lap. He's built up about the best lead he could have hoped for from Dan Chambers. Basically, what it means is he doesn't want to get attacked going into that new section, and he's done enough to avoid that. In fact, Lewis Manley is looking very good in the lead there. Chambers has lost a bit of time on him. Jonny Elliott's starting to get a little impatient by the looks of it with Chambers, wishing he would go on a bit, but he's under attack by Kyle Power. So Lewis Manley has got everything he needs going on right now to work. He's got a lead for himself, an increasing lead, but he's got a massive battle brewing behind, because Chambers isn't going to let this go. Jonny Elliott knows that he has to get on terms with Manley as soon as possible. So does Kyle Power, and Kyle Power's getting very racy behind Jonny Elliott. Kyle Power is actually trying to force the issue at every opportunity, it seems. Coming around to the long corner there, it's Lewis Manley with a healthy lead. Look at that already. And there, of course, is Dan Chambers, and there's Jonny Elliott. Now, everyone's getting defensive. Look at them all over to the inside there. And Jonny Elliott trying to find a way around Chambers if he's going to get on terms with Lewis Manley. Already Jonny Elliott is waving, and that's obviously, he's not waving saying, hey, look at this great driver in front of me. That is not a complimentary wave. Jonny Elliott knows that if things carry on as they are, they're going to lose way too much time to Manley for anybody else to make a race of it. Lewis Manley, you can't give any time away to at all, especially not in these circumstances. Jonny Elliott probably could do with making as early as possible pit stop now, unless he thinks he can throw it up the inside of Chambers, and if he's going to throw it at the inside, it's going to be here, and it's not going to happen. He's close to Chambers, but maybe he feels not close enough. I reckon we might see an early pit stop by Jonny Elliott. Jonny Elliott be thinking on his feet, and Jonny Elliott does make that pit stop. So Jonny Elliott pits as early as he can. Now what's it going to be? That red light seems on forever. Another pitter as well. It surely can't be Kyle Power. No, someone's pitted behind him. A bit of an error there because he's going to have to wait for Jonny Elliott. Now, Jonny Elliott's come out ahead of Kyle Power by the looks of things. Power must have pitted and I didn't notice. Yeah, I think it's what's happened. Jonny Elliott resumed in 8th place. He's comfortably ahead of Power though. It's kicking off down behind though, because now Chambers is under attack from Seabourne, and this is going to get really racy. But Seabourne himself pits, so I think everybody has been a little bit concerned by a lack of pace from Dan Chambers, so they're trying to pit themselves around the problem. Now where's he going to come out? Is he going to come out ahead or behind of Elliott? It's ahead. Gosh, Johnny must... Oh, he's got a bad stop, that's why. So he's going to have to do it all again. That's a terrible shame there for Seabourne. Mike Seabourne, the Castle Combe kart champion. Terrible shame for him because he's going to have to revisit the pits by the sounds of things. We'll just see what the organisers say as a finality on that. So, what are we looking at here? We've got 16. That is James Marshall. Yeah, James Marshall there. He's running third. Another pit stop. Who's that one? That's the 11. That is Sheppard, Bradley Sheppard, yeah. He had been running much further up in the other race. He's not really gained anything by that because Jonny Elliott's gone away, so has Kyle Power. Probably the best thing that Sheppard may have gained from that is he now might be running alone where he was following someone before. So Kyle Power is all over the back of Jonny Elliott. Now Jonny Elliott is running in 7th place. He has made a pit stop and everybody in front of him has yet to make one. So well, actually, exception of Seabourne. So Seabourne pitted, and he's the one who's leading the way with a pit stop. Still Lewis Manley in the lead. He's pulled out 7.5 seconds over that now to Dan Chambers, and so Chambers really is going to be falling back when everyone kind of leapfrogs him when he makes his pit stop. Clearly, I don't think Chambers has been as fast. But now look at the times now. Yeah, Chambers, well, I don't know, he's not looking too bad. Yeah, there are a lot behind him who are going quicker, so when he does pit, he may well find that they pass him once he's come out of the pits itself. So we're looking on screen at Jonny Elliott now. He was a finalist last year. Jonny Elliott, more than anyone, is known for bad luck. He's been at the top on the British scene for some time now, good maybe 10 years. He has been known for some terrible bad luck, and when it's gone wrong for Jonny Elliott, it's really simply unravelled. Never the same thing. You can't say, well, he's done this wrong, that wrong, or he should be doing this, should be doing that. It's just stupid things that gather themselves up on him and almost gang up on Jonny Elliott. But last year, a complete reversal of fortunes. We saw Johnny win a couple of races and well placed in the others, got himself in the semi-final. A good result in the semi-final put him in the final, and that was the first time that Jonny Elliott had made the final. So a great showing there by the Manchester driver. And of course, he's come back this year looking to just repeat the process. He's going to be racing in this championship and the Polish championship at least this year. So Jonny Elliott there is, well, his season obviously starts now, as does everyone else's, being this early in January. But Jonny Elliott is going to want to start with a really good performance, and he's not going to want anything silly to get in his way. So Jonny Elliott is now closing in on Seabourne. Mike Seabourne there, the Castle Combe champion. Jonny Elliott really is closing in on him, actually. If we look at the lap times, it's a couple of tenths per lap, and it's getting more and more visible as this goes on. So we're looking at Jonny Elliott, and with the camera focusing on Johnny, we're now starting to see even more of Seabourne. He's the cart in front. That's, I think, still Chambers versus Marshall. Now here's Jonny Elliott. These guys are pitted, so although they're behind Chambers and Marshall, it could well be a different story once they've taken those pit stops. There's Elliott in the 9, and into the pits then, into the pits. There was someone ahead of Elliott, it's Preston, and Preston's lost already to Elliott, and he's going to lose quite a few places as well. He's dropping down the order. He's dropped down to 9th. Preston comes out the pits, and was it anything to do with the pit stop? Well, he was a 12-second pit stop. It's not the greatest pit stop, but the others were just running that fast that they kind of leapfrogged him, so he'd been a little bit out of position with earlier midfield people stopping in the pits and just bundling up the order. Now he's being bundled down the order. So to recap, Lewis Manley leads. It's still Dan Chambers in 2nd place, Seabourne 3rd, Elliott 4th, Power 5th. Now, when Chambers pits, there's no way he's going to be able to stay in front of Seabourne, Elliott and so on. And here comes Lewis Manley. The race leader comes into the pits. Now, this needs to be clean. There's no pressure on Manley at all. He probably will even come out in the lead, so he could actually really take his time, very much wait for those lights. Yeah, you can see the flash of green there. So Lewis Manley, an absolute superlative performance, put himself in a position where he didn't have to worry about where he was going to come out of the pits. He's come out in clean part of the track. There's nobody really in front of him, nobody behind him. Certainly didn't have to worry about Seabourne and Elliott and Power, people like this. In fact, he has indeed come out of the pits, even though Chambers has not pitted. So, got Jonny Elliott right on the tail now of Mike Seabourne, the Coombe champion. And Jonny Elliott from Manchester is definitely going to be trying to take that position from him. And Elliott is right on his tail now. It's absolutely nose to tail. There is Jonny Elliott. He's pulled away from Kyle Power, so Elliott can fully focus on taking the position. He doesn't have to worry about any mistake being capitalised on, trying to drive behind him. He takes it. He takes it. So Jonny Elliott now moves up into position ahead of Seabourne. That puts him in third. Will become second once Dan Chambers pits. Jonny Elliott giving a wave there, and that is a work with me wave. That is a let's just work together. We'll pull away from Kyle Power. Mike Seabourne, I believe, is making his debut in the BRKC, although he is a last year's champion. But Jonny, what he wants is a no sort of problem run to the end there. He's quite happy for Seabourne to come with him, but he doesn't want really to be that close with Kyle Power behind. So if they do get into a fight, Seabourne versus Jonny Elliott, the result shouldn't be that Kyle Power passes the pair of them in Jonny's eyes. That's what that little signal meant. So Jonny Elliott turning in nicely, really gentle movements on the wheel, and you can see there the almost gentle movement there by Mike Seabourne. He's another one who's very easy on the kart, guiding it rather than driving it. That's giving him the speed. And Jonny Elliott really getting the kart drifting through the corner there, but as you can see, that wasn't really a time-wasting slide that he had to add lots of opposite lock for. That was one that just allowed the kart to rotate through the turn. Very effective that. The European lean there assists in that sort of thing, helps lift up that inside rear wheel, allows the kart to pivot a bit better in the turn itself, because at indoor kart track, very tight corners are the norm, so getting the kart through them can be quite difficult if you were to be leaning inwards and giving yourself a whole ton of understeer. So Lewis Manley leads. It's all about what happens with Chambers now. We've got Dan Chambers, who's running second, but I believe has yet to make a pit stop. We will see what happens. I believe when he makes a pit stop, he's going to really drop behind Elliott, Seabourne and Power, and possibly even Sheppard, which was their intention when they made their earlier pit stops. I think from their point of view, it wasn't really about getting on terms with Lewis Manley. It was about avoiding a fight with Chambers, because he was getting pretty feisty, and any fight they got into with him would involve a massive loss of time. So if Chambers gets leapfrogged by Elliott, Seabourne, Power and Sheppard, that will have been what their intention was all the way. So onto the backstretch. Oh, there's Jonny Elliott side by side, and in fact he has caught up with Chambers, and Chambers is going to be a problem for him again. He's pushing him, he's not taking any messing about from Chambers. Chambers is going to be holding up Jonny Elliott. Jonny Elliott's in a position here where he's going to have to fight his way past Chambers. He's pulled out a fraction of a gap from Seabourne, but he doesn't really want to give that back, so getting ahead of Chambers as quick as possible is going to be an absolute priority for Jonny Elliott. Now, to give you viewers at home a bit of a picture there of this bit here, that is Chambers ahead of Jonny Elliott. So there the camera's focusing on Elliott. He's the second in the lineup. He's shaking his head, and that will be to do with what's happening with Chambers, because Seabourne is now closing on him, Power's closing on the pair, and Sheppard's going to be closing on him. It's vital that Elliott can get through. He's not bumping Chambers because he's being careless. He's actually just trying to shove him on. It really is like a get a move on or get out of the way, one or the other, from Jonny Elliott. Jonny Elliott in that pink banded helmet. Can he make a move here? No, he can't. He's desperate to make a move somewhere. Anywhere will do. Could it well be on the long backstretch here? Will Chambers go defensive? If Chambers goes left, yes, he's getting defensive. Now he's swinging back at Jonny. Jonny's cutting the inside. He's swerving this way and that, trying to get past Chambers, but Chambers is blowing off. Look at the body language of Jonny Elliott, the second of these two cars. He's absolutely disgusted with what's going on the backstretch. Makes great viewing for us, but absolutely frustrating driving for Jonny Elliott. Now, will Jonny Elliott give in to the implied pressure now? Because he's feeling the heat to pass Chambers. He knows he's got to do it. It's not really about getting ahead of Lewis Manley anymore. It's about getting that second place. There's 8 minutes to go, so plenty of time for this to be a massive problem. The way it's looking, Chambers could back everybody up. And if Chambers does back everyone up, then that's going to be a huge 5-way fight for position at least. Now, where's Jonny Elliott going to make the move? He's going to have to do it somewhere and somehow. When and where is the question? I think Johnny's thinking could come from anywhere. He's getting himself lined up for anything. Is he going to make it? No, he's not. This on the revised layout, so it's not like the old snail section. We might have just centred up the inside there. There's a few more corners there which may make passing slightly difficult. A defensive line by Chambers, normal line by Elliott and Power to the right of our picture there. So there's Chambers holding up an increasingly frustrated Jonny Elliott, nose to tail. Well, Jonny Elliott is not going to want to get the black flag. He's trying up the inside, it's not coming off, and sideways goes Chambers. That just costs both of them tons of time. Elliott there is going to make another move down here, is he? No, not quite. He's just trying to get neatly through the corner here. Jonny Elliott getting neatly through this section is all about taking a lunge at the bottom of the straight. But Chambers is just going to stay left. Jonny can't do anything about it. Jonny Elliott's going to try and send up the inside, but there's just not enough room at all. And Power is looking pretty dangerous right behind Elliott. If you notice, hold to the left. Now, Power's closed in on Jonny Elliott. This is going to be very tight indeed. The pressure is mounting on Elliott to get through, because you can bet your life that Power's going to try and jump him. And so Chambers there is causing all the problems for Elliott. Power is trying to capitalise on it. And closing on all three of them is Bradley Sheppard. So this is already, Jonny is waving. Look at him waving. Are they going to... No, they can't. He's shaking his head. Now, this is where Jonny could fall to pieces. We've seen it in the past. He's got to stay cool, because now he's been joined in the action by Kyle Power and Bradley Sheppard. Bradley Sheppard racing for the South Coast karting team. The Lovell boys down south there near Bournemouth run a cracking show there, and they'll be rooting for Bradley Elliott to actually take all three of them in this. Look at this. Chambers will not be moved. Chambers just will not be budged. He's the one working for the Mercedes F1 team, and, well, blocking moves isn't something you really associate with Valtteri Bottas or Lewis Hamilton, but he's been learning off somebody, because he's been blocking Jonny Elliott out nearly all race. And here they are, there's Chambers. He's hanging on to his second place. Jonny Elliott can't do anything about it. He's shown that already. Kyle Power, well, Kyle's got some ideas, and so has Bradley Sheppard. So, obviously, in the commentary box, being joined by Spanners. Spanners going to be helping the commentary for the rest of the tournament, and he's going to be rooting for Kyle Power in this one. So, Kyle Power now is 4th place, but in this battle, he's 3rd. Jonny Elliott, can he make a move on the inside? No, he can't. He just cannot separate Dan Chambers from that 2nd place. Well, it's just still nose to tail. There's nothing he can do. It's as simple as that. Jonny Elliott shaking his head. He's run out of ideas, and he's running out of time. There's only 5 minutes remaining. Spanners, you're joining us at a crucial moment in this race. Jonny Elliott getting increasingly frustrated behind Dan Chambers, and, well, Kyle Power, Jonny Elliott waving. He's saying, what do I have to do? What's going on here? How do you read this?
In the mix, but it looks like that battle has really profited.
Well, Kyle Power's been showing great. We've had quite a few changes in fortune, shall we say, and Kyle Power's shown himself to be very strong indeed in this tournament. Kyle Power has definitely got designs on Jonny Elliott here, and we can see that although Elliott's trying to deal with Chambers, worst of all, Power's trying to separate him from that position there. Spanners, this is getting bad for Jonny Elliott. He's scratching the back of his head. What's going on?
Come on, Jonny, you can do it as well. He's a bit of a favourite here at Brkc.
He is, but it goes to pieces in exactly these situations. Look, that is over frustration.
Right, well,
he's driving one-handed now.
If you're going to slate him and be anti-Elliott,
I'm not slating him at all, Spanners. He's actually a personal friend of mine, and I want him to do so very well. But look at that, Smith. Is that Smith ahead of Power? Yeah, it is. Smith is now ahead of Power. Sheppard, sorry. Sheppard is ahead of Power, and so Jonny Elliott's been spared something there. That's Smith. In fact, Sheppard is now drop back behind Power. So let's have a look. Where is Elliott? He's obviously in a bit of a clear now. What's actually happening? There's Elliott. He's now got a clear stab at Chambers without the worry of Power. I think out of picture, somehow there's been a bit of an incident between Sheppard and Power, Spanners.
Certainly, but I'm a little bit out of the loop. I've just literally arrived on venue. I assume Lewis Manley's yet to pit.
Lewis Manley has pitted, and
He's 20 seconds ahead.
yeah, he's doing very well indeed. He's Lewis Manley, and we're here at Formula Fast. So an epic
This is his very much his home ground, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is proper stomping ground for Lewis Manley. He's always one of the top Brits here. He's invariably a finalist, and he wins races. He's difficult to sort of argue anything against Lewis Manley winning a race on the BRKC weekend. Still, though, the problem's there for Jonny Elliott. He's tried everything so far, and all he can do now is try things he's already tried. He's going to have to jump him somewhere, Spanners.
Well, it looks like he's been a little let off because Power's come under pressure from Sheppard. I think Kyle probably had around 3 laps before Sheppard put that pressure on to get it done, and he hasn't managed it at this point. Obviously quite hard to pass it.
Well, it is, but what's happening is Dan Chambers is running at a pace that allows the likes of Elliott, Power and Sheppard to catch up with him pretty easy. What that by definition means, it also means that someone like Power and Sheppard can easily catch up with that battle if they should drop back like they did. So Jonny has got this sort of time when he can try and do something about Chambers, you know, without the problem of Power and Sheppard.
Yes, the power problem, yes.
Yeah, a power problem. He's going to have a big power problem in a minute because already he's closing right in, as you can see on screen.
Do I have to pretend to be neutral?
You don't have to be anything, like, just
go
call
on,
it.
Kyle, go on, get in there. Go on, you can mug Elliott in a minute.
Elliott's done it. Finally, Dan Chambers has pitted. We've been waiting so long for this, and that's what Jonny Elliott's been waiting for. He's shaking his head, but he is in second, and it's a firm second. I can see Jonny Elliott pulling away a little bit now. Luckily, he has just under a second over Kyle Power. I think Jonny Elliott might have done enough there. We've only got a minute and a bit wait to go, so it won't be long before that flag's out. Jonny Elliott needs to stay cool, though. It's all about Jonny Elliott and his coolness now. No more hand waving, just drive the thing.
You think Power's more likely to be looking behind at Sheppard than he is forward at Elliott at this stage? If there was 5 minutes left, you might think he'd be looking at a lunge. But at this point, I think Elliott, he's unhappy in second. Power's probably going to be pretty chuffed in third.
If you were chasing down Jonny Elliott, you would want to see head shaking and flap happening, wouldn't you?
Yes, and a wheel falling off, if at all possible.
Well, that would be even better, wouldn't it? But from your
I
point of view.
surprised you with how terrible a person I am, didn't I?
Not at all, Spanners, not at all. But key in this is it's been an amazing performance by Lewis Manley. He's been clear of absolutely all problems. He literally checked out a Ruben Bouton's performance, which we've said several times today, but this is Lewis Manley at his finest. We're seeing him here. He's going to be taking the flag. Lewis Manley makes it 2 wins out of 2. He's looking so strong, not only for the final, but potentially the championship overall. Obviously, he's got to get past Ruben Bouton's in that particular quest, but he's doing everything he has to do so far. Fastest lap in the race, and the fastest lap that we've seen around this revised section. So he is very, very quick, Lewis Manley. There's nothing more that he could do. He's doing the winning, he's doing the laps, and he was on pole position. So really, that's about as good as he can get. Jonny Elliott needs to just wind his neck in a little bit because he got second place. That's all he could really hope for. He needs to make sure he's settled for the next race. He did struggle there against Dan Chambers, who's coming in 7th place. So looking down the results, we've got Lewis Manley from Jonny Elliott, Kyle Power, Bradley Sheppard, Gary Llewellyn. Mike Seabourne was 6th place there, and then Dan Chambers and James Marshall, Adam Preston and Harvey Baul rounds them out. So we'll see what happens here. Will Jonny Elliott actually be that riled that he'll get up and start saying something, or is he just going to make his way to the weigh-in area and chill out? That will be the smart move, but, well, Jonny Elliott is a pretty emotional guy, so we'll see what happens here. It was a very good performance, though, by Elliott to take that second. He had to not lose a place to Kyle Power. He was under massive pressure there, and eventually when Chambers did pit, it was possible for Jonny to move into that second place, which he maintained to the end. So yes, a very good show there by Jonny Elliott. Lewis Manley, though, take nothing away from him. That was the most convincing win of the tournament so far. So what an epic race that was. We're going to be looking at, we can see Jonny Elliott there. He's taking all the weights away. Some of them are his, some of them are the tracks. The blocky ones are the tracks and the little thin ones are his. And there's a bit of a chat going on. It's, yeah, there's, well, that's one of the marshals and Jonny Elliott. I think the marshal is kind of commiserating a bit with Jonny Elliott. Looking down now at the people getting into the carts, this was one I read slightly wrong earlier when I was talking about Chris Danes, when I was thinking Ed White. Ed White is definitely in this one. You can see there in the orange and yellow, orange and blue helmet. Ed White, we saw him win very solidly early on, but he was really given a tough task by Owen Burton. So Owen Burton there did a really sterling effort to keep Ed White honest, and it's not often that people really keep Ed White honest. He's a very, very fierce